Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
This episode is brought to you by Intuit TurboTax. Didn't file with TurboTax last year? That's in the past. Now, Taxes is getting the TurboTax app and filing your own taxes for free if you didn't file with them last year. File by February 18th. All tax forms, all 100% free. Now, this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. New filers and filers who didn't use TurboTax last year only must start and file your own taxes in-app by February 18th. Excludes TurboTax Live. Full terms at TurboTax.com.
Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me once again as guest curator is my former Tunestiles co-host, Jay Sweet. Jay, welcome back, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm looking so forward to this because I really needed a little dose of happiness. So
I was going to say, my first question then is, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling pretty happy.
Well, I'm glad that's your answer, because it probably would have been hella awkward if you were like mopey leading into tonight's feel-good songs, kind of like Mr. Snuffleupagus, like, I'm okay, bird.
I'm Eeyore, yeah.
So what were you looking for in the songs that you brought to the table tonight, besides the obvious fact that they make you feel good?
I went with purely by the letter of the law here. I tried to stick to the happiness theme, and I tried to stay with, in-your-face happiness. And these are songs, so a lot of them are songs that make me think of happy times, which, of course, you have to do that. But, they're associated with, my kids or my parents or stuff that we did when I was a kid.
And for me, it was all about a vibe, because a feel-good song could pretty much mean anything to anybody. Look, if you have a happy memory that's tied to Redneck by Lamb of God, then that's a feel-good song for you, and that works perfectly. That's totally fine.
Sure.
But for me, I call these my quote-unquote, you can't help but smile songs. Songs that immediately invoke that feel-good vibe, even though that's right on the nose with the name of the episode. But there's a definite theme to the songs I've chosen tonight. I'm just not sure how to describe that theme, so I'm going to leave it up to the mixtapers to decide what that theme is.
All right.
So let's get down to business. Tonight, as I mentioned, Jay and I will be curating the ultimate feel-good songs mixtape, and we'll use, as usual, the old cassette deck approach. Jay, as my special guest, will begin side A with his first song choice, and then I'll add a song that I feel best follows up that choice. We'll then flip-flop choosing songs until we've mapped out 10 songs for side A. We'll then give our mixtape a proverbial flip, and we'll map out side B, only this time I'll kick things off with Jay choosing second. Our overall goal for this episode is to craft the best feel-good songs mixtape possible through only 20 songs. At the end of the show, you can take our conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com to give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can find ad-free episodes of the show, get early access to future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. And a few of the Patreon mixtapers chimed in with the songs they would use to kick things off tonight, and I want to give a shout out to a few of those. Philip Bergman chimed in with 2, starting with his go-to genre, the Four Seasons Opus 17, Don't You Worry About Me, and then outside of his go-to genre, Devo's March On. Sean Goff is going with some 80s hair metal and Poison's Nothing But a Good Time, which he says is such a fun song, and I'm not going to argue that in any way, shape, or form.
Nor will I.
Good, good. Seeker chimed in with R.E.M's Shiny Happy People, saying that song could lead into almost anything by the B-52s. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Muse's Starlight, saying it's one song he always smiles at. Chad Lamassa chimed in with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince's Parents Just Don't Understand. Brandon from Virginia chimed in with Gorilla's Feel Good Inc., hoping it wasn't too much on the nose. And then with that, the Monkees' Randy Scouse Git. And Mike Daly chimed in with Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al, shouting out the song along with the video starring Chevy Chase as two Feel Good Vibes. Once again, if you'd like to chime in for future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, come join the fellow mixtapers at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. Jay, with those picks out in the feel-good atmosphere, the sun is shining, and I'm officially pressing the record button on our mixtape and passing the mic over to you. What song are you kicking off the feel-good vibes with tonight?
Well, let me jump right into that by saying, hello, boys and girls. This is a song about being happy.
Oh, God.
We're going with Ren and Stimpy's Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy. This is your old pal, Stinky Whistleteats. This is a song about a whale.
No. I did not expect you to go there.
Oh, yeah. You got to kick it off with some Ren and Stimpy. So for me, that was a television show that came out just about the time where I realized, I'm allowed to watch this stuff. It's a little bit naughty, a little bit dirty, a little bit gross, and of course featuring the fantastic vocal talents of Billy West, a vocal talent who went on to do great shows. Just numbers of cartoons that I love to watch, including my favorite, Futurama. So a lot of people like Simpsons, and I enjoyed The Simpsons, but I liked Futurama a lot better because I'm a space nerd too. So, I kind of built off of my Star Wars and love, and I went all in on Futurama. But this Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy song where he gets possessed by a helmet that makes him be happy, and they do this weird dance. And if you can find it and embed it in the list, that would be hysterical. If you haven't seen it before, I strongly encourage you to go to YouTube and check that out, or find the full video for Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy.
I will make sure to embed it on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. Stimpy, what are you up to?
Die.
I absolutely love this show. I'm actually surprised now you didn't go with the Log song. Log rolls downstairs, a loner in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog. What's great for a snack? It fits on your back. It's log, log, log. Anyway, my old punk band used to cover this song back in the early 2000s. It always put a smile on people's faces. I just didn't expect you to go there. So to follow that up, believe it or not, I actually know where I'm going to go from this song. And it's going to bring us from kind of the novelty song into the rock world, but I'm going to keep the exact same vibe. And I am going to go with Fish and Sparkle from 1993's Rift, Laughin' Laughing Fall Apart. According to Fish.net's song history, the song musically is meant to mimic a soon-to-be former bachelor's pulse rate as he's on his knee, ready to propose. And This song just continues. It starts off at a regular, but boom, 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 boom. And by the end of the song, it is at that happy, happy, joy, joy, frantic pace where it becomes almost this dizzying metal bluegrass tune. And for pretty much 3/4 of the song, the only lyrics, just like Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, are Laughin', Laughing, Fall Apart, and then repeat it over and over and over and over again. And when my kids were younger, they would just bounce in the car seat as that song played. And as the song got faster and faster, they would just bounce in the seats faster and faster and faster. And by the end of the song, they were just going nuts in the car. So for me, every time I hear this song, even though it's got nothing to do with anything personally for me, as in like when I proposed, my heart rate didn't get that bad. But just every time I hear this song, I immediately picture the girls in the back seat going absolutely bonkers to this song. And somehow I've been able to manage to capture the vibe of happy, happy, joy, joy in a rock song.
That's fantastic. I can actually hear the girls saying, "Do it again, Dad," after, because that's how my kids would react. So full disclosure, never really got into Phish the way a lot of people who follow jam bands do. I think the closest I kind of got into that universe was Dave Matthews Band. Don't at me. I know. But when I was working in college, I was working as a camp counselor at one of the local camps at upstate New York. And two of my friends who were also co-counselors had taken an entire year off to follow Phish around the country, which was super cool. And I thought to myself, I couldn't do that. First, I couldn't afford it. How do you live? And then as we moved forward, and I kind of was explaining that to some of my friends who weren't working at the camp, who worked at the radio station with me, it turns out that one of my closest friends from Syracuse, his dentist was Michael Fishman's father. So that's pretty cool. So the song, I'm not as familiar with it. When you were singing the Laughing, Laughing, Fall Apart part, like that, yes, rang a bell for me. But wow, and it does have that frenetic energy. And like I said, at the end of it, just capped with the giggling cacophony of children going, "Do it again!" Because that's what I love, repetition, to quote Stewie Griffin.
Well, you've got Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, and Sparkle. Where do we go from here on this feel-good playlist?
Wow. All right. Well, the door's open. I think we got all the silliness out of the way. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's take a walk back in time to probably the greatest use of theremin in popular music ever. And I'm going to go with Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a great tune. One of the first, I believe the first Beach Boys song that I learned was, that I had known. After that, it was Help Me Rhonda. And then my class performed to Surfing USA, which of course was used in Teen Wolf.
Oh, my class performed Sloop John B for some reason for one of our choruses in grammar school.
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, right?
But no, my earliest memories of Good Vibrations was hearing that on the radio when I was real little, and my mom doing laundry or bustling around the house during the day while we were home, and hearing that, "I'm picking up good vibrations," and the theremin going over it, which at the top of the show, you and I were talking a little bit about Big Bang Theory and how I was rewatching Young Sheldon and hearing Jim Parsons playing his theremin. "Nobody knows the trouble I've seen." Theremin's so great. But that is such a happy memory for me, and it's a great song. Can't go wrong with that.
Reached number 1 on the Billboard US Hot 100, as well as nabbing the top spot in Malaysia, New Zealand, Spain, and the UK. It was also a top 10 hit in Australia, Belgium, the Netherlands, Ireland, Finland, Austria, South Africa, Norway, and Singapore. A worldwide hit. The Good Vibrations are all over the world for this one. To me, Good Vibrations signals what the Beach Boys are as a band. They've had compilations named after it. It's not only a song title, it's kind of their vibe as a group.
That's fair.
It's their mindset. It's their atmosphere. And when I think of feel-good songs, this definitely comes to mind. And to follow it up, you actually mentioned another Beach Boys song that I'm actually going to pull something from. You mentioned Help Me Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
And in Help Me Rhonda, there is a 7-note orchestral phrase that Shorty Rogers wrote for the song to lead into the chorus. And it's the exact same 7-note phrase he used in the Monkees' 1967 single, Daydream Believer.
I just got chills.
Written by John Stewart of the Kingston Trio and appeared on 1968's The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkees. Like Good Vibrations, it reached number 1 on the Billboard US Hot 100, as well as number 1 in Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, and South Africa. To me, coming out of Good Vibrations, Daydream Believer, just that opening piano, that happy sound that comes out of the keyboard, the chorus, just the sing-along feel, it just oozes 60s sunshine and flowers and happiness and that whole era. But there's something that's so timeless about this song. And apparently, the vocals on it are slightly gravelly because they recorded it so many times. Apparently, the band was getting pissed off by the time they got the good takes. So that's why there's a little bit of a rasp to the recording, which is ironic given the happy, feel-good nature of the song. But there's just something about Good Vibrations and Daydream Believer back to back. You can't not feel good listening to these songs together.
Absolutely. And it also, that story, Brian, also explains the preamble talk back in the studio where Davey says, where are we? What number are we on? And they all kind of yell at him. But that's great. That's another happy memory for me. When I was so my parents split up when I was 10, and that's not happy memory, but that's what ended up coming from that was I used to get to go after school. I used to get to go over to the community youth center in the town I grew up in, and there was a little arcade room that had a television that we had cable there. So we got to watch Nickelodeon, and throughout the day, they would kind of, in the afternoon, they would run reruns of the Monkees. And that's where I kind of got introduced to that sound. Well, that and my buddy Joe, who was a big fan of the Monkees as well. So I really, really love Daydream Believer, which, by the way, is also, I believe, my wife's favorite Monkees tune, which is pretty cool. And from there, well,
we've got 2 frantic, manic, happy songs, and then we've got 2 airy oldies classics that I'm sure our friend Jimmy Mitchell would be applauding.
Yes.
So where do we go from here?
We're at the midway point. Let's smack the people square on the nose. There was a period of time where I think actually we're still kind of in, where you cannot escape this song. And a movie came out about this artist's life story, in fact, and I am talking about Lego Pharrell Williams and the song Happy.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can't go wrong with the song that was written for a movie called Despicable Me and used prolifically throughout that franchise. And then for him to release that Lego movie that's hysterical. I haven't seen the movie, but I did see the trailers for it when I went to go see Transformers. And I thought to myself, that's funny. Like, he's just, as the English say, taking the piss out of documentary movies. It's very, very good. So really, really enjoy that song. Particularly Happy is a square on the nose kind of bop. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, Despicable Me 2, I couldn't escape this song. The kids were at the age when this movie came out. That was in 2013. Then it also appeared on 2014's Girl, reached number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, as well as topping the charts in, if I did the math correctly here, I had to actually go through and count, 29 other countries. And I apologize if that number's off by 1 or 2, because the song also hit number 1 on multiple charts in those multiple countries. So to put that into perspective, in the US alone, Happy was number 1 on the adult contemporary, adult R&B, adult pop, hot R&B, hip hop songs, pop airplay, and rhythmic charts alone. That's on top of the Billboard Hot 100. That's insane.
That is crazy.
And then in 2014, the song got even more put on a pedestal, I guess you'd say, as Weird Al parodied it as tacky for his mandatory fun album, his, for now at least, final studio album. This is the kind of song that I think we're a little over 10 years removed from this song being released. And I could tell you that in the last decade and change, I have not been to a wedding where this song hasn't been played. It's the modern version of September or Celebration or Hot, Hot, Hot. It's a wedding anthem. And I have a feeling 20 years from now, it still will be. This song has staying power because this is a song that the kids get into, but grandma's also dancing to it as well.
That's right. I'm not surprised at all that that hit so hard in so many other countries, because right around that time, about a decade and change ago, the world kind of needed some happy, right? It kind of needed a little bit of levity, and it was the leading up into the mess that became COVID and all that other nonsense. It's no surprise that Pharrell Williams had a skyrocketing hit with this song.
And piggybacking off of that, I am going to go with another song that I think falls right into the exact same category, right around the same time frame, within a year or two. This is from 2015's Uptown Special, and I'm going to go with Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars, Uptown Funk. Again, every wedding I've been to since the song was released, it's been played at. And you know what? Still not sick of it. Like Happy, it reached number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100, as well as topping the charts in approximately, again, give or take here, 15 other countries. And it hit number 1 on multiple charts in multiple countries again. Like in the U.S., the song was number 1 on the Adult Pop Airplay, Dance Club Songs, Dance Mix Show Airplay, Pop Airplay, and Rhythmic charts. This song was everywhere. And you know what? It never friggin' gets old. I actually went to a local carnival where they have the School of Rock kids playing, and these kids got up there and they rocked out a version of Uptown Funk, and everybody was up dancing as if Bruno Mars was up on stage. There's something about the song, the bass line, the groove. It has that Casey and the Sunshine Band, Kool and the Gang, and I'll just say it, James Brown appeal. It's got a timeless energy to it, and it's something that I think, like Happy, has a staying power because kids love it, people our age love it, and because of the throwback sound, our parents love it. So it's a generational song. It has no boundaries. And I think you can't not feel good listening to this song.
Definitely not. Mark Ronson had been at this for a real long time. He knows the right formula to put together. And I think you can't have a conversation that includes Bruno Mars without the comparison to Prince and, how he's more of the new generation of Prince. And again, we can go back and forth on whether or not the Purple One is, the greatest of all time, which he is. But
he is, yeah. I was going to say, we're not going to go back and forth on that. We're just going to go.
We're going right to it. But Bruno Mars, a multi-instrumentalist, he could sing, he could dance, he can rap. He plays everything. And he's just, you nailed it. The longevity and the staying power of a song like this with the throwback sound that appeals to multiple generations. We're going to be whistling that or humming it in our heads for a long time to come.
All right. Where do we go from here?
Well, I'm going to back it up a little bit. I'm going to go back to 1983, and I'm going to introduce some females into the equation here. This is one of my all-time favorite songs from when I was a kid. This is Katrina and the Waves, Walking on Sunshine.
Yes.
How do you not feel good about hearing a story about a young lady who goes to the mailbox and she's so excited to get a letter or a note from her love, and it just makes her giddy to be walking on sunshine? It's perfection.
Reached number 9 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 3 on the Canada Top Singles Chart, number 4 in Australia, number 2 in Ireland, and number 8 on the UK Singles Chart. To me, those numbers all seem low. I know they're all top 10, but they just seem low, except Ireland. I mean, you can only go one step higher in Ireland, but
right.
There's something about the horns in the song. You just can't help but want to get up and dance to it. And you know me with my cover songs, Jay. If you want to hear something really different, Ice Nine Kills, the horror metal band, teamed up with Real Big Fish to cover the song for the American Psycho comic series soundtrack.
Okay.
So if you want to hear something heavy, but with horns and still with the same vibe, something really kind of off the beaten path, make sure to check that one out. But there's no denying the joy that this song brings.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to check that out.
And I think I'll stick with your 80s vibe here. I'll see your 80s and I don't even want to say raise your 80s because I love both of these songs kind of equally the same. So I'll just say I'll continue running with the 80s baton that you're passing me, if you will. And I'm going to go off their 1980 album Voices. Let's get some Hall & Oates in this. You Make My Dreams.
Oh, such a great song.
Reached number 5 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 17 on Canada's Top Singles chart, and number 40 in Australia. This song also sold over 1 million copies in the UK, despite the fact that it never charted there. Melee, they're a band that I saw open for Bowling for Soup at the Starland Ballroom, do a fantastic cover of it. There's just something about this song coming out of Walking on Sunshine that I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, which is the total opposite of feeling good, but you just can't help but catch that vibe. Your head just starts bopping. It gives you that almost Night at the Roxbury, only in the 80s thing going.
Right.
It's 80s happiness here.
Absolutely. What a great pick. I had some Hall & Oates on my list as well. Your Kiss on my list specifically. So you scoop me with the band. But this song is another one of those, again, we're probably going to repeat this phrase repeatedly throughout the mixtape here, but this is one of those inescapable songs. It's been used in how many countless commercials in the past decade, and every time it just gets stuck in my head. What I want, you got, and it might be hard to handle. I love Daryl Hall's voice. It's unfortunate what's become of Hall & Oates, as time marches on, the invariable 80s bands suing each other out of existence kind of thing, but you're not going to find a better 80s and 70s too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Songwriting, singing team. I think you got Simon and Garfunkel, you got Hall & Oates, and then, of course, Lieber Stoller and Dozer Holland Dozer.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got multiple versions at one point of Queensryche out there, LA Guns. Maybe you'll have Hall and not Oates and Oates and not Hall running around. Right. I don't know. So we got a pair of 80s jams here. Where are we going from here?
I'm going to go to the movies. I'm going to go to one. I will tell this story until the end of time. When Marvel Cinematic Universe started releasing their movies with Iron Man in 2008, and then Hulk was released shortly thereafter, I would never have thought that Guardians of the Galaxy would have been probably my favorite Marvel movie. And I don't say that lightly because Captain America is amazing. All of the ensemble pieces, the Civil War piece, all of that, all of those characters are great. But Guardians of the Galaxy brought something to a couple of things to the party, if you will. And one of them was the humor and the color that we kind of had been missing for a little while. It was the Marvel Cinematic Universe kind of ramped up with a bit of a heavier walk through the comic books. But then entered James Gunn and the Guardians of the Galaxy, where this movie was just bright and colorful and funny, and then had a soundtrack that contained ELO's Mr. Blue Sky, number 9 on my weekly mixtape, which, I mean, James Gunn does with music soundtracks and his movies is unbelievable how they match up, how every scene that had music in it, the music had a purpose or a subtext. And it was great. Like, for example, the escape scene from the prison head, the alien prison world, they're playing Rupert Holmes' Pina Colada, the escape song. So that's my pick, Mr. Blue Sky, ELO. I love that song anyway. ELO is fantastic. You've got to love Jeff Lynne. And even now, continuing on as Jeff Lynne's ELO, it's inescapable.
From 1977's Out of the Blue, the fourth and final track of the Concerto for a Rainy Day Suite, or side 3 of the double vinyl for those of us who owned it growing up, reached number 35 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 26 on the Canada Top Singles Chart, number 87 in Australia, and number 6 on the UK Singles Chart. I'm just going to say this. The UK is the only ones who got the charting right for this song. I mean, I'm shocked it didn't chart higher given its longevity, the movies it's been in like you talked about, and the undeniable fact that in 2021, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem put their stamp of approval on the song by covering it for the Dear Earth special on YouTube.
Nice.
How can you not love a song that is approved by Dr. Teeth?
How did I not know about this until right now?
Oh, I'm going to have to embed that on the episode page as well.
Yes, please do.
So.
That's fantastic.
All right, so closing out side A, you're in the 70s, and while this song was a staple throughout the 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s and 2010s and still to this day, came out in 1969. From Brother Love's Traveling Salvation Show, I'm going to go very, very obvious and close us out with hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me and touching you. Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline, reached number 4 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and number 3 on the Canada Top Singles Chart, as well as charting in Australia. In 2019, it was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Recording Registry for being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And that it is. And in 2020, the song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. And of course, I'm going to mention the amazing Me First and the Gimme Gimme's 1997 cover of Sweet Caroline from their Have a Ball CD. Can't go without talking about that one. And even though I am a ride or die New York Yankees fan, I have to tip my hat to my New England family and friends as the Boston Red Sox have played this song during the 8th inning of every home game at Fenway Park since 2002, and that's pretty cool. So closing out side A, Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline.
And let's not forget his wonderful appearance in Saving Silverman.
Oh, there you go.
What a great song. I mean, Neil Diamond's one of my favorites of that era. And, well, of all time. I kind of got into him and Barry Manilow, and I kind of got that from my aunt, and I enjoy I celebrate the whole catalog. So that's a great way to end a side.
And there you have it, mixtapers, side A of the ultimate feel-good songs playlist, which consists of Ren and Stimpy's Happy Happy Joy Joy, Fish's Sparkle, The Beach Boys' Good Vibrations, The Monkees' Daydream Believer, Pharrell Williams' Happy, Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk, Katrina and the Waves' Walking on Sunshine, Hall & Oates' You Make My Dreams, Electric Light Orchestra's Mr. Blue Sky, and Neil Diamond's Sweet Caroline. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. And now I get to kick things off for side B. And Jay, I'm going to take a page from you and start with a song on side B that screams happiness, literally and figuratively, and also has a bit of a novelty aspect to it, just like Happy Happy Joy Joy did. And I'm going to go with, off the soundtrack to 1981's The Great Muppet Caper, The Muppets' Happiness Hotel.
Very nice.
Okay, the lobby's looking shabby and it's got the wrong address, and the whole darn thing has been condemned by American Express. Still, the management is cheerful, though the whole joint's gone to hell. Well, welcome home to Happiness Hotel. This is a song where everything is horrible in it, but the music is just so upbeat and infectious, you can't help but sing along to it. It is the best part of the Great Muppet Caper soundtrack. It's the best part of the Great Muppet Caper movie. The song to me is a top Muppet anthem. You know my love of the Muppets, and all of that manic mayhem that they're known for is on full display in this song. So kicking off side B, Happiness Hotel.
Yeah. You know, I'm not surprised you chose a Muppet song. I would have been very disappointed if you hadn't. And you have so many to choose from. The Great Muppet Caper, that's a bit of a deep dive. The second movie wasn't as... Was that the second or the third? No, it was the second. Because the third one was the
Great Muppet Caper.
Take Manhattan, right?
Take Manhattan was 3.
Yeah. So the second one, the sophomore attempt, didn't get as well received as, of course, the Muppet movie, and then the Muppets Take Manhattan, where Kermit loses his memory and gets married to Miss Piggy. But I do remember...
Way to spoil the ending for everybody, dude.
No spoil. If you haven't seen the Muppets Take Manhattan at this point in time, I do remember that when I was little, my sister and I, my younger sister, I have 2, I'm the oldest, and then my younger sister got this game. It was a board game with the Great Muppet Caper, and you kind of had to build it and solve the mystery. And it was a lot of fun, and I remember the soundtrack very well, and I remember, listening to that while we played the game and losing the game very badly because I'm not a detective, but it was a lot of fun. It made me very happy to just think about that right now. So thank you for that.
You are most welcome. So what are you going to follow up the Muppets Happiness Hotel with?
Well, we talked about, let's stay on the kids universe for a little bit. We talked about the longevity of Bruno Mars and the comparison to the purple one. And I think we would be remiss if I didn't also discuss Justin Timberlake. And if we talk about JT, we also talk about my next future ex-wife, Anna Kendrick, and a movie that they made about trolls. And if you remember, if you're a child of the 80s or 70s, I think too, they have, and even maybe the 60s, they had these troll dolls, and the trolls were very popular. So a few years ago, they made a franchise of movies out of these characters, and Can't Stop the Feelin' was the song that JT and Anna Kendrick sing at the end of that movie, and it is fantastic.
Nothing but love for the Trolls movies because, again, this is hitting right as my kids were at that age where I saw this movie 12 billion times.
Oh, yeah.
And there's something about this song that for me just never got old because every time it came on, their faces would just light up with just that magical, childlike wonder. And even if the song is a little fluffy and poppy, every time that opening hits, I see their faces and my heart gets warmed up. And just like Happy and Uptown Funk, again, we're in that mid 2010s here. This song was all over the charts. It reached number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, as well as topping the charts in 19 other countries. And for the third time tonight, a song that hit number 1 on multiple charts in multiple countries. So in the US, it was number 1 on the adult contemporary, adult pop airplay, dance club songs, and pop airplay charts. So this song was everywhere. It's still played in weddings every time you go. I feel like if you and I were putting together a wedding playlist tonight, 3 of the songs have already been knocked out of the park here.
For sure. And the way that the song ends too, with it's just a nonstop party. It's a nonstop feel-good party. Got that feeling in my body. It's so great, and it just sums up the movie perfectly. I've watched every movie Anna Kendrick has ever made, and anything she's ever been in, because, again, she's my next future ex-wife. Just don't tell my current wife, or her. So, yeah, I just love that song.
All right. This is going to maybe feel like a slight pivot, but in a way it's not. And I'm going to go back to the 80s here. It's not as poppy as Justin Timberlake, but for this artist, it's maybe about as poppy as you'll get. And I'm going to agree with one of the Patreon mixtapers here and go with Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al from 1986's Graceland. Mike Daly chimed in with it, shouting out the song along with the video. The song reached number 23 on the US Billboard Hot 100, number 11 on the Canada Top Singles Chart, number 2 in Australia, and number 4 on the UK Singles Chart. This video was like my white whale as a kid, because I used to have a VHS tape that I would try to record music videos on MTV. And for some reason, I always missed this one, or I always caught it like halfway through. And I know Chevy Chase is no longer seen as the funny man bastion of comedy as he was in the 80s, but back in the 80s, he was everybody's funny man. And every time that Paul Simon tried to start singing in the video and Chevy Chase picked it up, oh my God, I just thought it was the funniest thing on the planet. This was one of those one-take videos that just had to be done perfectly in order to pull it off. And then just musicianship on the original song. It's got a bass solo in it. I mean, come on. How can that song not make you feel good? The horn section, every time it comes on, it puts a smile on my face. I love Paul's delivery and the lyrics. It's just such a feel-good song. And this is a feel-good episode. So damn it, You Can Call Me Al. Let's feel good together.
I love this song. I love Paul Simon. Again, we talked about him earlier in the show where we talked about the singer-songwriter, and it's hard to beat Paul Simon when it comes to that. And his ability to kind of invent himself, not only throughout the years, but also like from record to record, like even on the same side of the record would be different from what you're getting. Graceland's a great example of that. This, like you pointed out, is probably one of the poppiest songs he's ever written. And then you've got the rest of his catalog and just, it's all great. So I always feel good when I'm listening to Paul Simon. In fact, I had The Boxer running through my head earlier today, which was wild. But this is, I think that what helps is the comedic timing and the slick production of the video, the reverse engineered bass solo where it sounds like it's played backwards, and that's pretty cool. When it's 1986 and you're 12 years old, you hear things like that and you don't know about the magic of recording and all that fun stuff. And it just blew my mind. And I turned to my mom and I said, "No, I want to learn how to do that." I got close. I know how to do it. I can't do it, but I know how. All right, where do I want to go? Let's see. Let's come up a few years. This is a song that I think you would not expect a song like this from this band and the collaboration that came from it, considering the majority of this band's catalog. And I think one of your Patreon mixtapers shouted out this song, and I want to thank Seeker for saying this. R.E.M's Shiny Happy People, featuring Kate Pearson of the B-52s. They did a couple of songs together, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Me and Honey and Fretless, I think.
Yeah, you're right. But again, if you listen to the rest of R.E.M's catalog, you're not finding these kinds of songs.
Not at all, but this is definitely one that stuck out as a massive hit, and it was a divisive hit because hardcore R.E.M. fans were not necessarily fond of this one, but people that weren't R.E.M. fans were. This song actually also became a hit on Sesame Street because they did, I think it's Happy Furry Monsters.
Yes.
Yes, there was definitely, because I remember when my kids were watching Sesame Street growing up, I remember that one. From 1991's At a Time, it reached number 10 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 3 on the Canada Top Singles Chart, number 19 on the Australian ARIA chart, and number 6 on the UK Singles Chart. Television. For the Friends fans out there, Shiny Happy People was the original theme of the unaired Friends pilot before the Rembrandt's I'll Be There For You was chosen. So a little fun fact there if you're a Friends fan. Once again, shout out to Patreon Mixtaper Seeker who chimed in with this one. And you know what, Jay? He said something in his chime in, and I think I'm going to agree with it. He said it would be followed up well with a B-52 song. And he's right. Except I'm not going to go with Love Shack or R.E.M or Rock Lobster. I'm going to go a little bit deep here. And I'm going to go with the lead and title track from their 1989 album, Cosmic Thing.
Yeah.
It was also the promotional single for the movie Earth Girls Are Easy. And it reached number 7 on the U.S. alternative airplay charts, even though it was never released as a single. And low-key, this is my favorite B-52 song.
Agreed.
There's something so incredibly fun about this song. It almost feels like a beach anthem. Like it should be in like that Back to the Beach movie where people are dancing on the beach, but it's in B-52 style. It's different than... It's just got its own vibe. It obviously works perfect in Earth Girls Are Easy, but it's my favorite all-time B-52 song. So it might be a deep cut for some fans out there that don't know this song, but if you're a fan of Love Shack, R.E.M or Rock Lobster, you've got to give this one a listen. It's so damn good.
Yeah, this I kind of tend. We talked a little earlier at the before we started recording the show about how I'm a big fan of novelty records, and I was raised on Dr. Demento and, those kind of things. And these kinds of songs I'm drawn to, songs like Rock Lobster, where you're talking about a party and the biggest point of focus is a lobster that lives under the dock. It's great. I love the B-52s. I think they're the perfect balance of quirky and pop, and it works. It works to the fact that my old cover band used to cover Love Shack, and that was most requested, probably the most requested song we did. And we just had a fun time with it. But Cosmic Thing is on a whole nother level. It just blends everything in. The beach sound, the happy vibes, the cosmic vibes. It's perfection.
How the hell wasn't it a single?
Listen, I think I was listening to your deep dive with ZZ Top, and I believe you guys both mentioned a few times the record label got it wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, common, often repeated phrase on a show like this, but where I think the record company got it wrong. But I think, to be fair, the record company didn't know how to handle the B-52s, and it was like, no, you're not a novelty act, but you're not exactly like mainstream pop act. It's somewhere in the middle, and they just carved their own path.
And they were doing something with Kate Pearson in the beginning of the 90s because she had Shiny Happy People, but then she also did one of my favorite songs of the 90s, Candy with Iggy Pop.
Yes.
And she also recorded with the Ramones, Matthew Sweet, and other groups as well outside of the B-52s. Love her voice.
Yeah, she did a few collaborations, and the two females of the B-52s, without Fred, are the prominent release of R.E.M, which was another, it kind of fell more in line with a Shiny Happy People type of song.
Yeah, exactly. So where do we go from these cosmic beach vibes, I guess we'll call it?
I want to throw the train in reverse.
Oh.
Ready? We talked about fun videos with star power, and I want to talk about a one-hit wonder that we all love. Again, this is another one of those songs that you could not get away from for a certain period of time. And we're going to talk about the multi-vocal stylings of Mr. Bobby McFerrin. Don't Worry, Be Happy, featuring Robin Williams and Bill Irwin in the video.
Absolutely love this song from 1988, Simple Pleasures. And it was also on the Cocktail soundtrack, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
Reached number 1 on the Billboard US Hot 100, the Canada Top Singles chart, the Australia ARIA chart, and topped the charts in Iceland. Like Sweet Caroline, the song was selected for preservation in the United States National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress as, once again, being, quote, culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. This is also a phrase that my mom says to me anytime I complain about anything. And she's done it since 1988. So this one, and she'll sing it too. So, and hearing my mom sing it, she does a good job. Bravo. And I also remember growing up around this time, listening to the radio, always just loving the Z Morning Zoo in the morning in New York, Scott Shannon on the radio. They always played a version, Don't Worry, Life's Crappy. I don't know if you remember that one.
I do. Yep. It's funny because, radio's in my blood. So, grew up on Scott and Todd. Even while I lived in Syracuse, they used to put out the CDs at the phone scams and all their funny bits. And that was on one of those discs that I heard. So that was pretty cool. I had
the vinyl. It was like the Z Morning Zoo's Greatest Hits Volume 3, and it had this on the vinyl of it. I love, again, that's like those novelty songs that just, you waited to hear them on the morning because you didn't know, is this the real one? Oh, it's the parody. It's the parody. Anyway, way to give me something that's nearly impossible to come out of. Because, I mean, this is all a cappella. So how can I come out of that and capture that same vibe?
Do you remember while you think on that,
okay,
do you remember did you ever hear a rumor that Bobby McFerrin sang the way he did because he had split vocal cords and that's how he could make all those sounds at once?
I did not hear that.
Again, 12, 13 years old, and my friends group was like, oh yeah, he can sing like that because he had split vocal cords and that's how he does all the voices at once. No 12 or 13-year-old knows anything about overdubbing or multi-vocal processes. Like, we were just like, oh yeah, that sounds, wow, what an interesting birth thing that like causes him to sound so amazingly awesome.
I think that was anything when we were growing up. At one point when I was in college, the big rumor was that if you drank Zima, it wouldn't show up on a breathalyzer test because it didn't smell like beer. This is before you could like look things up. And right? These rumors would just happen.
Yeah,
and they
kids,
would become...
we used to not have Google.
Okay, well, you've given me enough time. I actually have a song that'll work coming out of Don't Worry, Be Happy. I just don't know where the hell you'll go from it.
Oh, boy.
But let's go back to 1979.
All right.
And the Life of Brian soundtrack. No, not me. And we're going to go with Monty Python, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. It's not a cappella, but you got the whistles. It's got the same vibe. And hell, it charted. In 1980 and 1981, it hit number 9 in Australia, number 30 in Belgium, and number 32 in the Netherlands. And then in the 90s, it charted again, hitting number 1 in Ireland, number 3 in the UK and in Switzerland, number 5 in Norway, number 3 in Germany, number 6 in Europe, and number 119 in Australia. So worldwide hit, plus Iron Maiden closes every single concert with it. So I'm sorry. Coming out of Don't Worry, Be Happy, this is a perfect fit.
That is a hard reboot. I like that. That's great. And now for something completely different, as John Cleese would say, or Terry Gilliam, or any of them really. Eric Idle has said it at one time. Terry Graham. So how do we come out of that? Let's go back to my clubbing days. I want to bring some more females in here because we don't have enough. This song has a breakdown in it that I absolutely freaking love and still to this day can recite. And I love the part specifically where she says, it's not vicious or malicious, just lovely and delicious. I say that all the time, quoting D-Light with Groove is in the Heart.
1990s world click. You could not escape this song. Reached number 4 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 15 on the Canada Singles Chart, number 1 on the Australia ARIA chart, and number 1 on the UK Singles Chart. Australia and the UK got it right. The US and Canada got it wrong. I mean, between Q-Tip's rap verse, Bootsy Collins' vocals, Maceo Parker's sax, and Fred Wesley's trombone, this song is an all-star cast and a lightning in a bottle musical moment. I have to throw back to episode 41, the Ultimate Blues Traveler playlist. Yes, I know, Blues Traveler. However, Tad Kinchler, the band's bassist, talks about their cover of the song, which appears on their 2023 album, Traveler's Soul. If you want to hear a cool cover song story, yes, Blues Traveler covers Groove is in the Heart.
Oh, I'm down. Say less, they say. That bass line it's a narcotic. I'm telling you, it does not take much for that song to earworm its way right into my head. That just melts me. That's the kind of thing I love. So,
well, coming out of that, I'm actually going to go with something that's a little more breezy, not as clubby, but definitely in the pop realm. But I'm going to bring it up. And this is one that I think might surprise a lot of people, because this is not an artist that I would normally talk about on this show quite often. I completely respect his voice. I respect what he does musically, but there's this one song that since the first time I heard it, just relaxed me and made me feel good and made me feel happy. So for my last song of the night, from 2009's Crazy Love, we're going to go with Michael Bublé's Haven't Met You Yet. Reached number 24 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 5 on the Canadian Hot 100, number 9 on the Australia ARIA charts, and number 5 on the UK singles chart. This song, to me, it's just breezy, light, and refreshing. And no, I'm not talking about the seltzer, but there's just something about it that every time I hear it, it just puts me at ease. And I think that is something that a feel-good song does. And it's not my wheelhouse. And I get that Michael Bublé does a lot of the croonery stuff. And there's something about his croonery voice over this kind of yacht rocky meets pop type sound in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, that on paper makes no sense, but in my brain just feels so damn good.
Oh, it works. For sure it works. Michael Bublé, so you got every once in a while a Michael Bublé comes along. It's like a generational thing, right? Because we had Harry Connick, we had Frank, we got Dean, we've got that kind of style. And Bublé is, he took that song and became now a host of like Christmas Eve on ABC for the last like 50 years. He's just everywhere. His kids are all over the place. They love Snoop Dogg it's the most bananas thing. It's great. I love it. He is Frank Sinatra. He has that gravitas to him, and he can do everything from the big band standards all the way up to this pop tune. He has another song called Hollywood is Dead, and it's a finger snapping song. And I love it. And this just fits right into that pocket.
And this is definitely one where I think people that listen to this show and know me, they're going to go, wow, I didn't see that one coming to close it out for the night. And I was thinking about closing with Monty Python for my last pick of the evening. But as soon as you did Don't Worry, Be Happy, I had to do some shuffling at the last minute. So now I've left you kind of on an island here to close out our feel-good playlist for the evening. Where do we go from here?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to leave this mixtape feeling a little guilty because we left some of my favorite artists on the table here. And I think I'm going to, again, at the midway point of side A, we hit people square in the jaw. And I think we're going to close out by hitting people square in the jaw as well. It's a strong finish to a strong open. And I think initially way back a couple years ago now, when you and I did you had me on for the first time on my weekly mixtape, you asked what mixtapes mean to me. And of course, they're girls. It means you're giving this tape to a girl. And I think we're going to end this tape by playing right to the girls who are listening. And this is Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Ah, Captain Lou Albano in the video.
Oh, yeah.
1983, She's So Unusual, reached number 2 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and the UK Singles Chart, as well as number 1 on the Canada Singles Chart, the Australia ARIA Chart, and 7 additional countries. And like Pharrell's Happy, we get to mention Weird Al a second time tonight, as he did Girls Just Want to Have Lunch off his Dare to Be Stupid album. I'm actually surprised you and I didn't sneak in a Weird Al song, but he is here in spirit through 2 of his parodies of 2 of our songs tonight.
Yeah, definitely. This song was on one of those K-Tel records, right? And they had those, my parents got me one, and I think the Girls Just Want to Have Fun was track 2, I think, on side A. And it was, I mean, these are just, when you grow up through that and then go into the roller skating rink, and it was all over the place. And then it still played every party, every junior, senior prom, all of these parties wherever women are present. This song will still be one of the anthems. That and Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive.
I was going to say, this is one of those songs that I think anybody on this planet, if they were on Name That Tune, they'd be hitting the buzzer within 1 second, because as soon as you hear the Hammond organ, you're getting Name That Tune in 1 second.
Yeah, definitely. And again, another song made great, enhanced by the video featuring, as you mentioned, Captain Lou Albano, who went on to play Mario in the Super Mario Brothers live action thing on, I think it was on Fox when I was in school. But yeah, Captain Lou, one of the greats from WWE, which used to be WWF. A lot of things changed since that time. So
yeah, I actually have a picture with Captain Lou Albano. I was probably around like 7 or 8. I met him at a car show once. Really cool. Really, really
Did he
cool.
have all the rubber bands?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If I can find the picture, I will post it up over at myweeklymixtape.com on the episode page. But I mean, absolute legend of the industry. And that, mixtapers, concludes side B of our Ultimate Feel Good Songs mixtape, which consists of the Muppets' Happiness Hotel, Justin Timberlake's Can't Stop the Feeling, Paul Simon's You Can Call Me Al, R.E.M's Shiny Happy People, B-52's Cosmic Thing, Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy, Monty Python's Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, D-Light's Groove is in the Heart, Michael Bublé's Haven't Met You Yet, and Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Well, Jay, as always, this has been, well, a good time. Thank you so much for joining me again on My Weekly Mixtape.
Thanks for having me again, Bri.
Remember, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can enjoy ad-free episodes of the show, get access to future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.